So to start, I'd actually like to spend a few minutes, the next few minutes, talking about an individual plant. For me, this is really where agriculture starts. Every time I'm out with a grower in the field, they immediately walk into a row and look down and identify a plant, and often reach down and examine its color to see how it's doing, and feel it and check out the soil. And that level of precision is only available with the human. There are two eyes and kind of two hands to see into each individual plant. And then every decision that farmer makes for the plant is to get that individual plant, in this case of corn, to reach its full potential. And then, of course, do that thousands, if not millions of times across the many of their acres. And throughout time, there's been a lot of innovations, especially in corn, tractors, combines, different chemical combinations that have allowed these farmers to reach scale, to not just focus on the one corn plant, but on, like I said, on thousands. But up to this point, these innovations, these mechanisms, these chemicals have been blind in a sense. They can't actually see the plants in the field. They're guided by GPS today, or there's combinations of GMO and herbicide, but there's no kind of, but getting back to the individual plant and letting it, and giving it individual care has not been possible today. But there's a few technologies that we've found at Blue River from other areas that we can apply to agriculture to get back to identifying and giving each plant individual care. And those two technologies are computer vision and machine learning. So just wanted to give you a couple examples of where those technologies are in the rest of the world. So computer vision is really the science of using a sensor to collect data from the world around us, and then using a computer to identify things in that image. So one example, I like to watch a lot of golf. They can use software to identify the golf ball and track the shot. You can see that in the upper left. Or if you watch the Giants in the World Series later today, I guess first pitch was just 5 minutes ago. You see the pitch tracker, where the pitch was in the strike zone. Another application of computer vision. Another one, if you're a Facebook user, you upload a photo, and Facebook will take a look, identify the face, see features in that face, and then recommend which of your friends they think is in that photo. So that's a little bit what computer vision can do. It's identifying objects in images. Another is machine learning. There's some sensors that just collect so much data that a human could never possibly program a way to make sense of all that data. And what machine learning allows is a human to, for example, an email is one of the widest applications of this. You can tell your computer which email is spam and which is not. Your computer, the algorithm within it, will learn which is which, take a look at all incoming emails, read all the text, understand where it's from, and then go forward and classify that. So it's a way for a computer to automatically make decisions. And if you apply those two things, like we have done at Blue River, you can actually identify, in a very precise manner, every plant in the field. So if you take a look on the right, we trail a computer and a camera behind a tractor through the field, take pictures, and in every picture we identify the plants. So we can see on the right, even when plants are touching, the centers of the plants, the outlines of each individual plant, and the size of the plant. You can also tell about its health, its disease pressure, and maybe even a little bit about the nutrients that it's been, although not quite as well as a Solum by actually testing the soil, but we can see if there's any pressure from that. And so that enables us to do all kinds of potential applications at the individual plant level. It's bringing that care that a farmer could use with their two eyes to a massive scale, because we can repeat this at speed through the field. And one of our first applications of this technology is for weed control. Because we can see every plant in the field, we know which ones are supposed to be there and which ones the farmers would like to get rid of. And so in one pass, we can go through the field, identify all the plants, and kill the weeds that we don't want there. This is particularly useful in some places of California where there's a labor shortage in specialty crops like lettuce, where our first product will be, as well as in more traditional row crops where chemicals aren't necessarily working today. There's some farmers in the South who have herbicide-resistant weeds where the chemicals aren't working. So we really think that by using some of these technologies, it's kind of the next wave of precision in agriculture. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. So we actually have time for 2 questions per pitch. So has anybody got a question on this one?
I have one question. I'm just wondering, have you done some proof of concept work comparing this versus herbicidal control and see what type of control you get versus that?
So we haven't necessarily compared it to herbicide, but we do get quite good control of weeds in the field. 98% plus effectiveness when we go through.
And in terms of being able to control the cost of this technology so that it is applicable on the broader scale, and we spoke earlier, so it sounds as though getting to the application for lettuce, weed control, it's getting to the commercial stage. How far do you see that you would have to go to make this applicable on a broad acre application?
How far do we have to go in a technology standpoint, in a time standpoint?
In a cost standpoint. So I guess, what are the inhibitors to rolling this out on a broad acre application?
It's really all about speed. Because this technology is depreciated across the acres that you use it on, it's potentially quite expensive to develop a machine like this. And so the faster we go through the field, the better. But we have proprietary in-house algorithms. Probably the biggest limiting factor right now is processing power. But we expect that to become both faster and cheaper, as it has in the past. And as that happens, we'll be able to move faster through the field and be cost competitive to other weed control solutions.
So our next speaker is Naithan Jones, who's CEO of AgLocal.
So late last year, I founded AgLocal.com, and of all the pitches that you've probably heard, this is the least scientific. It's more of a consumer focus on B2B. So I'm originally from Kansas City. My background, I worked at Gartner Research for a while, and then I worked at the Kauffman Foundation. Late last year at the Kauffman Foundation, I was working with quite a few different, mainly consumer-focused startups in Boston and in Silicon Valley. And what I saw was that there was a great move for peer-to-peer markets and organization of marketplaces in general. So my wife's family, a little bit about my background, my wife's family are all farmers. Her auntie is a agronomist and also a PhD at Kansas State School of Agronomy. And she was our first investor after coming home and pitching her. My brother is a chef, grew up taking me to the city farmers markets, meeting the different farmers. And so these were my early influences. And late last year, I left the Kauffman Foundation because what I saw was the ability to create a marketplace that could essentially act as an organization for the smaller artisan farms, ag of the middle farms, and to connect them through a platform directly to restaurants. And so that's what we started building. We landed a seed round of funding from Andreessen Horowitz about 3 to 4 months ago, and we're building right now the platform. And what it essentially is a two-sided platform that connects farms, both small and ag of the middle farms, directly to distributors, and then those distributors directly to restaurants in the marketplace. So there are a few things we're trying to solve right now. One is the many different rules of business that the distributors use, the many different ways that they have to work with the different farms that is not very standardized, and on the restaurant side, the connection to some of the high grossing and value-added product that their consumers have asked them for. So in this case, small to medium chains that are high-end chains that don't have a value-added access to farms, being able to name the farms. So some of the stats that we found out when we went out and we started working with farms directly near and wide all over the country. Some of the stats that came back from some of this customer development were that most of these farms, most of these smaller farms, animal raising farms, are able to scale up their production times 2, 3, and sometimes even 4. The reason that they don't do that is because the only way that they can sell after scaling up is to commodity players, which then strips out the incentive for them to do all the work of scaling their farms up. So for them to be able to keep some of the margin, they have to meet the market a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. So creating a marketplace that connects them to these sources of demand that also will pay these high margins very quickly and be able to move this product was indeed a value to some of these farms that we spoke to. Then we went and we spoke to some of the distributor businesses across the country, some very large distributors, some very well known. And we found out that they are using telephones to match the market, very, very old school. They've got sales teams that are, on the phone, calling up farms, calling up restaurants. What do you have? How can we match it? They're managing on QuickBooks, email, they're in disarray. And so there's a definite case here for automation through the internet to create management tools that effectively match the market we found out that these distributor businesses are like basically like a flex player in the market where they facilitate the market from the top to the bottom. And so we found out that by enabling these players in the marketplace, we could effectively solve quite a few different problems by creating a channel where it balances the marketplace.
Okay, thank you, Nate. So, Armand, do you want to ask the first question for Nate, and then we'll go to the audience?
Sure. Nate, where do you see your biggest clientele going to be for this product?
Likely at the bottom, it'll be restaurants and then the food services.
Okay.
Okay. And are there any questions from the floor? Okay.
Just how does the data get into the system?
Right now, it's manual, as you can imagine. So we have to go out and actually meet the folks face to face. So we actually have to be out there. So right now, we've actually got an alpha product that we're working on, and we've got released here in the field in San Francisco and in Kansas City. And what that's meant is that we've had to go in and work with some of the distributor businesses and the farms that they work with and manually enter that in until we can get better adoption on automation. But what we're doing in that process is we're doing typical customer development stuff where we're asking a ton of questions. Well, what would make usage go up? And we're getting some very interesting results from that. But it is right now, it's manual. It's actually doing the work.
Okay, and we have one more.
So your models of how many farms you have signed up, obviously they're kind of the source of the whole thing.
So right now we have 180 farms signed up, and 6 of them are there are 6 co-op organizations that own about 90 of those farms.
Hi, I'm David Rosenberg from Aerofarms, and just by way of background, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My last company was also that I led. It was a venture-backed company here in the Valley. We were a nanotechnology company that developed a new way to design and construct buildings, and we scaled to over 17 locations and over 1,000 different commercial projects. This was a cool way for me to build a company. It started off by looking at the problem of how do we grow food, get food to a growing planet and a food source for 8 billion, going on to 8 billion by 2050. And started thinking that localized food is part of the solution. So started writing business plans and more focused on leafy greens because some of the highest rates of spoilage, some of the highest rates of bacterial contamination, some of the highest prices per pound and so forth. So I brought in a team of 4 over 7 months. We looked at every technology we could from greenhouses to other vertical farming systems, and we found one that we thought was a leader, and this is Aerofarms. This illustration just kind of shows you what we do. It's aeroponic. This is sunless and soilless agriculture. If you look over here, this is the root structure. We missed nutrition to the root structure. Over here, there's a system of LED lights that gives the plant the spectrum it needs, when it needs it, at the intensity it needs. Our growth media is cloth, and the cloth literally pulls the plants down this channel that's about 80 feet long, 2 feet high, and these systems are stacked vertically, so 7 high. So there's great utilization from a square footage perspective. Just some other photos. I mentioned the spectrum it needs, when it needs it. The human eye can't always tell and see this spectrum, but we are optimizing all the conditions of plant growth. Since I think this is an educated audience, I'll just talk more about the performance pieces. There's no transplanting here. So we grow, we seed, we germinate on the same media that it's pulled across. Our yields for a crop that would go in a greenhouse at typically seed to harvest 30 days, we're able to do organic seed in 16 days. So we have 22 crop turns a year. We use approximately 90% less water than conventional growing. From what we've seen, about 30% less than traditional greenhouses, not to call it traditional. We grow on a square footage basis about 30 times more product per square foot. So earlier today you heard of a greenhouse that's growing 5 times more per square foot. we're at 30 times more per square foot. So again, here, utilizing the crop, the vertical nature, as well as the fast crop turnover. We grow without pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and we have about 98%, 99% crop utilization. So whatever we grow, we optimize growing conditions to scale up. Also part of our company, it's creating a system that's good for society. So this is a modular system. So even while we could do it 80 feet long, 20 feet high, we could also do it grow a system that's 8 feet long and 4 feet high. This is a system that's been in a school, an inner city school in Newark, for going on to its 3rd year. The kids seed it, grow it, harvest it, eat it. It's in the cafeteria, and all of a sudden these inner city kids are connecting with food in a way they haven't otherwise, and it's starting to change eating behavior. Our growth model is, and we've built a team that is some of the best in how lighting affects plants and how nutrition is misted to the plants and vertical farming, as well as leaders in marketing who are head of marketing, led marketing teams at some of the major supermarket chains. We do have products that are sold, I should say, we have farms in Seattle, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, Jeddah, building one in Abu Dhabi, and we sell to supermarkets, Whole Foods, places like that. On the cost perspective, we do sell through, while we disintermediate the supply chain from the farm, we work with the local supply chain. So we sell through distributors. We've grown over 250 different types of products, predominantly leafy greens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Armand, we'll go to you first again.
Sure, David. What is your next project that you want to build?
We're expanding our farm in New Jersey. So we just agreed on a term sheet with a big financial player in the New York City area, and we're working very much with the local distributors. So they're going to backhaul. We're not truckers. They're going to backhaul, take our product, and sell through supermarkets in the New Jersey, New York area. But our model for growth is a partner growth. So there is some, while our financial player provides debt to projects, we're looking for partners, somewhat analogous to a franchise model, a partner and a dealer model, to scale up both domestically and internationally.
Okay, and any questions from the floor?
So under your franchise model, what sort of profit margin would your franchisee expect to achieve?
Yeah. I'm happy to talk about those offline. It's an attractive IRR. I mean, on a cash-on-cash basis, it's under 5 years, but a couple variables. Happy to discuss more of that online.
Thanks.
Offline.
Technology that basically creates a plant-based alternative to meat that has the texture, appearance, and performance of real animal protein. In this case, our first product application is chicken. Now, the particular product that Beyond Meat has launched with is a blend of pea protein, soy protein, plant fiber, grains, and canola oil. You know, the product is cholesterol-free, it's gluten-free, it delivers comparable protein content as real chicken. It is vegan, GMO-free. So really, the product comes to the consumer and customer with the benefits of protein and a clean nutritional profile as chicken, and ultimately provides factors of convenience, et cetera, to the end consumer and customer. In addition, I see other positive externalities of Beyond Meat in that there are the externalities in one, global resource use. The livestock consumes probably 45% of the global surface area, according to the International Livestock Research Institute. There's a factor of greenhouse gas emissions, where livestock, according to Jeff Goodland, Jeff Anang and Robert Goodland, noted that approximately 51% of greenhouse gas emissions could possibly be attributed to livestock. It's a function of human health, possibly associated with the consumption of livestock and meat, and also it's a function of animal welfare. So those are the positive externalities that we see associated with Beyond Meat. The general market opportunity that Beyond Meat focuses on with our plant-based chicken and beef products are really the flexitarian consumers, first off, in the United States and developed markets. Here in the U.S., there's approximately 100 flexitarian consumers, and I categorize these as individuals who are, one, seeking to actively reduce their meat consumption. There's approximately 60 million people here who are already actively reducing the amount of meat that they're consuming. Here in the United States, red meat consumption is down nearly 1.6% per year over the last 10 years, and chicken consumption is effectively flat. And then when you look abroad, I think the general opportunity there and differential is that people are rapidly increasing their meat consumption, and markets in China and India, poultry and specific chicken consumption is rapidly on the rise, and that's due to fast food and just the integration of chicken within these specific channels, where KFC, McDonald's, et cetera, are going up on a daily basis in a market such as China. So meat consumption is rising in China at 5% per year. So that's the broader economics here, where we see and we believe that there's a huge latent demand for a product that has the texture and appearance and performance of chicken. And to date, meat substitutes in the marketplace have suffered from, one, a high price, and also just poor quality. I think we've all had bad experiences with just fluffy tofu type products and whatnot. So clearly people have a familiarity factor and nostalgia factor with meat, and so it's difficult to break. And so if you're only 80 to 90% there on a product, then you're not there at all. Again, our key market that we're targeting are the flexitarians, the individuals who do consume meat but are seeking alternatives. The general markets that we're going after here in the United States, one, are within the food service channels, where we sell Beyond Meat as an ingredient to food service customers. School lunch programs, we sell to restaurants, hospitals, universities, and really they're using the product as a substitute to chicken in all those various applications. A very local application that you could see of Beyond Meat is here in Whole Foods, in the prepared food section of the store. They're using Beyond Meat in soups, salads, calzones, you name it. And it really speaks to the fact that Beyond Meat is being integrated as an ingredient across these various platforms. Now, the team that Beyond Meat has assembled, we're quite proud of the people that we have part of this mission. We brought in the former head of marketing at Silk Soy Milk, so really integrating plant protein into the mainstream diets. And also we brought in a food service team composed of 5 people that were all from the broiler chicken space. So Purdue Farms, Foster Farms, et cetera. And the investor partners we brought in Kleiner Perkins, the local VC fund, and also the founders of Twitter are investors in the company. So really, we like to provide a cost-efficient platform of protein to developed world consumers and developing world consumers, something where we could produce protein in an urban environment, potentially, and provide nutrition at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Brent. And again, and Armand, we'll go to you first again if you have a question.
Sure, Brent, how do you manage to get a similar taste profile as chicken?
Yeah, so good question. We almost look at protein and animal protein as a carrier of flavors and spices and sauces and stuff. So if you were to eat our product plain, I think the texture itself, it almost exactly replicates that of chicken, the fiber structure. The taste, as a meat consumer, you could probably pick up on a soy note or some other plant sources that we have in there. We do use a vegan chicken flavoring within the product today. So some people do think it does taste like chicken. It's not required for the product. It's just more for American palate.
Okay, thank you. And any questions from the floor?
Yes, hi. I had a question. Do you intend to sell this as a branded consumer product, or do you intend to have this go through the institutional food processors? It ends up being an ingredient that way, or maybe it has a different brand?
It's a mixture of both. Like in Whole Foods, we are branded as Beyond Meat within the prepared section, so it'd be Beyond Meat curry chicken salad or something to that note, or Beyond Meat burrito, whatnot. In the broader food service channel, no, it would probably be as an ingredient, say like K through 12, where soy and plant-based meats are already integrated to a certain cap as an extender in meats. So in that case, no, it wouldn't be branded. But broader restaurants, universities, we're selling Google, places like that, where it is branded as Beyond Meat. Though it varies.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to all our panelists. Armand, do you want to add anything before we close?
Just I find a lot of the companies here today in this group and some of the previous groups, such as Solon, quite interesting and really interesting value propositions.
Absolutely.